my name is Matthew Phifer with MattPhiferCoaching.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I make videos about toxic, narcissistically abusive relationships. And if you have a question that you would like for me to answer, make sure you send it to the links down below. If you go down below, there's links that you can send emails to me, and we'll notify you when new videos are uploaded. And also hit the subscribe notification, hit the bell notification so you're notified each and every time I upload new videos. I upload new videos 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And also, if you would like to connect with me, make sure you go down to the links below. The fastest way to work with me is to be a part of my Toxic to Triumph community. I do consistent trainings, different webinars, and I offer different courses. And being a part of the Toxic to Triumph community, or even being a part of my newsletter program, you'll be notified each and every time I come up with a new series, a new program, and new training. So with that being said, let's get into today's email. So today's email reads, "Hey Matt, I really enjoy your content and I find so much of it to be relatable. So thank you very much. On one hand, I'm thankful that it's relatable. On the other hand, that means that you're probably going through some bad times." So let's continue with this email. "I've been in recovery for almost a decade from growing up in a narcissistic family system." And if you're familiar with family systems and you've had a or a couple of narcissistic parents or caregivers, right, that's very difficult for people to break away from those systems, right? It's a continuous journey, a continuous healing journey when we've grown up in a system like that. This email continues. "How long will it take for a narcissist to move on and stop trying to bait me into reactivity? I can't go no contact in this situation, unfortunately. I'm exhausted, constantly trying to not react to their BS because, of course, I have feelings about it." And that's common, right? We have to understand that all of us have boundaries, right? Every single one of us have our limits. And quite often people do react when they don't understand those limits, and we're going to get into that here in a second. But the smear campaign and the jabs disguised as jokes continue to affect my social and professional life. Is there anything I can do to make them stop, lose interest, or focus elsewhere? Thanks again for all that you do. I appreciate your time and consideration so much." And so I'm not sure of the reason why this person cannot go no contact. It's very, very rare, right? I hear a lot of different elements of why people can't go no contact. Really, the only good reason to not go no contact typically is because you share children with them, right? Outside of that, sometimes it might be delayed, right, where you can go no contact. So I'm not sure the reason why this person can't go no contact. Typically, when I hear that someone can't go no contact unless it has something to do with kids, I typically challenge that a bit, right? But we'll give this person the benefit of the doubt, right? So the proper response each and every single time, no matter what, right? When we're dealing with someone who is disrespectful and doesn't honor your boundaries, is that we create physical distance and we reduce the amount of time that we spend with this person. We have to remember, and I'm going to circle this back to this email here in a second, but we have to remember that we have no control, zero control over other people, right? And I'm hearing some elements of a trauma bond where you want this person to, you think you still see good and positive in this person. You think that they possibly have the ability to change, right? But we have enough evidence, right? You mentioned that you've been dealing with this type of treatment for decades, right? So we have enough of a pattern to understand that the likelihood of this person even having a desire to change, right, is null and void. So when we're dealing with someone and we can't go no contact, right, then we need to go low contact. Right? We need to minimize the amount of contact. We need to create physical space, and we need to reduce the amount of time that we're spending with this person. I'm not sure if you mentioned that it's affecting you professionally, so I'm not sure if you're working with this person, right? But we need to keep as much distance as we possibly can, right? We need to minimize the amount of communication as we possibly can. We need to go low contact. I tell people, and one of the things that you mentioned is that you're constantly reacting, and I always compare this to a thermometer and a thermostat. When the heat gets turned up with a thermometer, guess what? You go up. right? When the temperature goes down, you go down, and the temperature, the thermometer has no control over it, right? It's dependent on what the weather is around it, right? And this is what happens when you, in real life, when you don't know your own personal limits. You care too much what this person thinks of you. This is the reason why the smear campaign is working. This is the reason why they're continuing to press your buttons. This is the reason why this has lasted for decades. We have to become self-aware of where our own personal limits are, and we make sure that we protect, and we just don't allow for those buttons to be pushed, and we reduce one of the main reasons why we reduce the amount of time we're spending with this person is because we already know that this person is going to intentionally try to antagonize you to get those pops, get those reactions, right? So we have to remember that it is our responsibility to protect our boundaries, right? Everyone, right? And this isn't just you. Everyone has their limits, and when they're pushed to those limits, this is when you start to see the pops, the reactions, right? So it's important that step one, you begin to understand where your limits are, right? You reduce the amount of time that you spend with this person. You create physical space with this person, right? And then when going back to the analogy of the thermometer versus the thermostat, we want to transition from a thermometer that we care so much about what other people think, right, which is really actually codependent traits. Are you caring too much about what other people think, how other people feel, right? You think that other people's feelings and other people's thoughts are your responsibility. You have to allow for these people, the people who are involved in the smear campaign, they're allowed to think that you're the villain. We need to get to a place of acceptance. They're allowed to think that you're the villain. They're allowed to think that you're the bad guy in the story. And the reason why this is so important, and they're actually allowed to be upset with you. They're not allowed to mistreat you. They are allowed to be upset with you. We have to let go of that control. One of the things that I get on people about in situations like this is that we're trying to control the way that this person is treating us, right? We have no control over it, so then we begin to remove ourselves. When you try to control other people, they end up controlling you. You're trying to control the way this other person thinks, the way they feel, the way they treat you. You have no control over it, right? So this is when we transition from a thermometer over to a thermostat. You are the one that gauged the temperature. When you feel like the temperature is getting too hot, guess what? You turn it down by, guess what? Creating distance, by not talking, by reducing the amount of time that we're spending with this person, right? By staying away from this person, right? As best as we possibly can, if we truly cannot go no contact. So then, guess what? One of the fears that a lot of people have in situations like this is that they know that if I create physical distance and if I stop talking, if I'm not talking to this person or these people as much, they know that the person is going to get upset, and then the person is going to get angry. The person is going to think that this person is the villain. And so this is where it's a struggle for people who struggle with people pleasing and codependent behavior, because they don't like it when other people are upset with them. This is where we have to get to a place of acceptance. Allow for them to be upset. They're allowed to have their feelings. They're allowed to think that you're the bad guy. And that those feelings of guilt that you have, that is your responsibility. You begin to process those feelings of guilt, understanding that those are inappropriate guilt. That's inappropriate guilt that was likely conditioned from childhood, right? And so that's how you would handle a situation like this. However, I would really take a deep dive into this and really question yourself on whether or not you really actually can go no contact. It's very, very rare. Very, very rare. Quite often, it's more often than not that I hear people saying that they can't go no contact, that they can't reduce the amount of time that they're spending with someone. And they really actually can, but they're trauma bonded to a point where they don't want to. Right? So begin to challenge those thoughts, right? If I'm not sure if you share children with this person, if this is a part of the family system that you're talking about, but really begin to challenge and really begin to look at those things, right? And see if you can actually break away and actually achieve the freedom that you actually truly want and actually truly deserve. So thank you once again. For those of you who want me to answer a question of yours, make sure you go down to the links down below. The fastest way to work with me is to connect with my Toxic to Triumph community. You're not only connecting with myself, but also other people who are also on a healing journey, and you will get updates and you will get different trainings, different seminars that you can join as well. So with that being said, thank you very much, and I will see all of you in the next video.